Coming up Sunday on The Attorney is going to be joined by Josh Wright of the firm Hollis Wright. Going to be talking Social Security disability.
You know, it's a very complicated area of the law, Dave, and we're going to be talking about SSDI and SSI. Viewers will see why on Sunday night it's important to get counsel involved early and quickly in these cases, because if you don't, you can make some pretty significant mistakes.
What are the most common mistakes relative to filing a claim here?
I think consistency in the medical records that are providing appropriate medical records and doctor reports, and giving up. People that give up oftentimes lose the benefits they receive. There's a quick statistic I'll tell you. 50% of those that apply receive it, 50% don't. So you need counsel to help.
And you need to do it. It's going to be our conversation coming up this Sunday night right here after the late news on Alabama's 13. So be sure and join us. Josh Wright, Josh Beard will be here with us. Love to see you then.
Car crash cases, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts. The attorneys with Josh Wright from the law firm of Hollis Wright and host David Lamb.
Hello and welcome into The Attorneys. We appreciate you spending your Sunday evening with us. For the next half hour, we've got a panel of experts assembled, going to be dealing with the particular subject, and I'd love to have you be a part of the conversation. You'll notice throughout the program at the bottom of the screen, there will be ways you can call, text, email. That's how you join the conversation. We would love for you to do so. So for the next half hour, let's chat about legal matters. Leading the conversation, as he often does, from the firm of Hollis Wright, is Josh Wright. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Hope you had another great week.
I did. Thank you, sir.
You know, topic today is Social Security disability, and we're going to be talking about kind of that topic, and I think it is relevant to the viewing audience. Yeah. It impacts a lot of
including
viewers.
The host.
No question, no question. You know, and there's some interesting statistics related to Social Security disability. About 50% of those people that actually apply for it ultimately are successful, but it can take as long as 12 to 14 months. This is not something you want to do without a lawyer, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. And we're lucky today to have Josh Baird from Cox and Reynolds on, and Josh is an expert in this area. So when you talk at the beginning of the show, say we have an expert panel, right, you're really talking about this guy right here.
He's our panel.
He's our panel. No, but he's great and is kind of an expert in this area and is going to be able to kind of lead, guide, and direct and answer questions for folks today on the topic. So first of all, thank you so much for being on and lending your expertise to today's show.
Well, thank you,
really
Josh.
Tell me a little bit. This is really kind of a specialty in the law. It's not something a ton of lawyers do. How did you get into this type of law in this area?
This is an area that I think is great for a young attorney starting out. You get a lot of great one-on-one experience with clients, and you can really help people and affect their lives in a positive way.
Now, this you can get some of these resolved without actually going all the way through a trial and a hearing. So you kind of have the entire gamut of litigation involved in some of these cases, though, don't you?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's a starting point? Kind of describe for us, if you will, what are the different types of Social Security disability, and let's kind of work our way through that to educate the viewers, and then we'll get to some questions.
Sure. Yes, there are actually two main types of Social Security disability benefits that we see most commonly. First, you have your Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, and this is based on a person's work history and paying in Social Security taxes over years of working. Okay. So the longer a person has worked and paid into the system, the higher their disability amount is going to be. With SSDI, you can actually also qualify for Medicare once you've been disabled for 2 full years. And also your dependent children can receive a payment with SSDI.
Okay.
Now, with SSI, or Supplemental Security Income, this is a kind of safety net program for people who have not worked enough to qualify for SSDI based on work credits, and who don't have very much income or assets. This is a needs-based program, and it's usually a lesser amount than your SSDI. And SSI also carries an automatic qualification for Medicaid. Now, with both programs, you have to be found medically disabled in order to qualify.
Let's talk about that, because I think that's kind of the next step. What does it take to be medically disabled under the law to qualify for both of these programs to be able to receive this type of benefit?
Okay, yes. To qualify for benefits, you have to be unable to do any substantial gainful activity or substantial work because of a physical or a mental impairment which has lasted or is expected to last for at least 12 consecutive months or result in death.
Now, I know that we get calls sometimes, Josh, and people will call and say, I have been disabled for 6 months. I can't apply for Social Security disability until I've been disabled for 12 months. That's not entirely accurate, though, is it?
No, not at all. Actually, your disability only has to be expected to last for 12 consecutive months. You do not have to be out of work for 12 full months before you apply.
David, this area of the law really requires, I believe, a lawyer to kind of fit the facts of each case and circumstance properly into the standards that are applicable in order to even qualify for this stuff. And if you don't, you can run into a problem. And that's why some of these cases take as long as they do. They can take a substantial amount.
A question here about the process. How do you go about applying for disability? I mean, how does that take place?
Well, you begin by doing what's called an initial application for benefits, and this can be done over the phone or online or even in person at your local Social Security office. And once you complete the application, it'll either be approved or denied, but most claimants are denied at the initial application stage.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it has to do with Social Security doesn't always have all the information, okay? They don't always get all the medical records that are available on the claimant, and I believe, because they haven't spoken to the person in person, there hasn't been a hearing.
What's the next step after that if you are denied? A lot of people probably give up at that stage.
A lot of people do, but what you have to do is you have to appeal that. And you have to file what's called a request for hearing with an administrative law judge. Now, it does take a while to get a hearing. It takes a year to a year and a half to actually get a court hearing, but the good news is you have a much better chance of getting approved at the hearing level.
Do a lot of people try and do this on their own initially, get denied, and then go get counsel to kind of figure out how to fix the denial?
Yeah, most people do. Most people wait until they're denied before they actually contact an attorney. We actually prefer to help people begin with their initial application, so we can help people do their initial application.
You think the success percentage and rate of those that are approved is increased if the full amount of information, medical records and whatnot, are presented on the front end?
I think so. I think you have a better shot right then.
What are some of the things that you see where people are ineligible for benefits even though they have applied, been denied, asked for the hearing? There are some circumstances, I guess, where people are just not entitled to recover regardless?
There are, yes. It is a high standard to meet, especially for a younger person. The rule is you have to be not only unable to do your past work, but also any other jobs out there. So for a young person, that includes even a sedentary job, like where you can sit down most of the day, you don't have to do a lot of standing, walking, or lifting.
Gotcha. David, I know we're about to go to break. When we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about the process, because I think there's some confusion generally in the marketplace of when and how you apply for SSDI or for SSI, and I think that'll be information that's good for the viewers.
Okay, we'll get to that right after this break, our first break of the evening. A reminder that there are attorneys standing by right now to take your call and to speak with you. So go ahead and pick up the phone, give us a call. You can call, text, email. Also, you can find the firm of Hollis Wright on Facebook if you'll search the term Hollis Wright, and they are on Twitter as well. It's Hollis_Wright. Stay tuned, more of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Carter Clay with the law firm of Hollis Wright. Thanks for watching The Attorneys on WVTM 13. Now we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never need legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of this show is simple: to provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to this show or related to other specific legal matters, call, email, or text us to talk with one of our lawyers. You can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter to learn about important legal news that could affect you or your family member. Or simply contact us by going to WVTM13.com and click on the Attorneys link. Now we know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us and for watching The Attorneys right here on WVTM 13.
Welcome back into The Attorneys, talking about Social Security disability, and we'd love to have you be a part of the conversation. The best way for you to do that is to call, text, and email. You'll see that information at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions, pass them along, and I'll be sure and get them to our panel of experts. Josh?
You know, when we left and went out to commercial, there was a firm fact that 25% of individuals that apply for Social Security disability are denied initially, and then about 50% at the first appellate level are accepted. Is there a process after that people can continue to the extent that they were denied the second time?
There is, Josh. Actually, if you get denied at the hearing level, you can then appeal that decision to what's known as the Appeals Council. This is basically Social Security's appeals court, and they can review the judge's decision and see if he made any legal errors or if he made an improper decision. And then if you're denied at the Appeals Council, then you have the right to bring a civil action in the federal district court.
It seems like a long process. I'm assuming the more appeals you go through, the longer it can take to actually be successful to get Social Security disability.
Yes, it can turn into a very long process.
Getting counsel involved on the front end, do you think you have a higher success rate with counsel involved on the front end through those three processes you just named?
Yes, I believe so. That's correct.
A question here about the timing in filing and applying for disability. Like, how soon and when should a person apply for disability?
Well, the short answer is as soon as you truly believe that you are unable to work. You know, we talked about that misunderstanding that you have to be out of work for a full year before you apply. Well, the fact is it's best to start your claim as early on as possible, because it can be a long and drawn-out process.
Talk, Josh, just for a little bit about what actually is presented to these groups that decide whether or not Social Security disability is going to be approved in some format, or some form rather, to an individual. What kind of evidence is actually presented?
Yeah, well, the most important evidence you can have is medical evidence and doctors' opinions. You know, in order to win your claim, you have to have enough medical evidence to show what your conditions are and how they affect you. The evidence has to be strong enough to show that your conditions are severe enough to keep you from working. So it's best to be seeing a doctor on a regular basis, not only before you apply for disability, but also while your case is pending. So the more evidence you have medical-wise, the better chances you have of being successful.
Are there certain elements that have to be met in order to qualify as what you've called medically disabled, that the groups that are evaluating these medical records and the doctor evaluations are looking for?
Yes, actually, you know, your case is evaluated under a five-step process.
Sure.
Okay, first you have to be not working at all, or your earnings have to be below a certain monthly amount. In 2015, that amount is $1,090 gross per month, and if you're making above that level, then you can't qualify for benefits.
Okay.
And secondly, Social Security has to determine if you have a severe medical impairment, meaning that you have a condition that significantly impacts your ability to do basic work functions. And third, they look to see if your condition meets the specific requirements of Social Security special listed impairments. And if you do have a condition that meets all these requirements based on certain specific illnesses or diseases, you can automatically qualify for benefits. Now after that, if you don't meet those specific requirements, they look to see whether, despite your medical impairments, you could perform any of the jobs that you've held in the past 15 years. And if Social Security agrees that you cannot perform any of those jobs, then they have to look to see if you can perform any other jobs in the economy.
So let's take this scenario. Somebody comes in your office and they've never applied before, and they want to retain you guys. Does somebody have to pay you on the front end in order to have this work done to prepare them to apply to the Social Security Administration, or is that handled on the back end if you're successful? How does that work? Because I do think viewers have questions about that a lot as to whether or not they're going to have to pay for a lawyer to do this type of work for them.
Sure. Actually, we work on a contingency fee basis, which means we only charge a fee if we are able to win your case and help you to get benefits.
So an individual does not have to come, if you will, out of pocket in order to compensate you guys unless they're successful in their case itself.
That's correct. And the amount of the fee that we can charge is regulated by federal regulations.
Very similar to some of the other stuff we see.
Yeah, it is. A question here about who actually determines whether the individual qualifies for disability or not? I mean, who makes that decision?
Yes, well, after you complete an application for benefits, Social Security then will request all of your medical records directly from your medical sources, and then they have their own physicians review all the medical information in your file. And sometimes they decide that more information is needed, and they may send you to an additional medical or psychological evaluation. And then they have their doctors give opinions about whether they agree or disagree that you're unable to work, or what they believe that you're capable of.
I know we're going to break here. One of the things I want to talk about when we get back is, are you entitled to go see your own doctor to try and present your case, or do you have to go to the doctors that Social Security Administration have sent you to? And that's something we'll kind of tackle when we get back.
Good. That's a good question. We'll stop right there as we head to break. A reminder of how you can get in touch with us. Call, text, email. Would love to hear from you. Have one more segment remaining, so if you have a question, get it on into us and we'll pass it along. Stay tuned. The final segment of The Attorney is coming right up.
I'm Tyler Vale with the law firm of Hollis Wright. As with any industry, it's important in the legal world to hire an attorney that is knowledgeable and has a track record of success. But with so many attorneys out there and so many different types of cases, how does someone decide the right lawyer to hire? In this week's Legal 411, we're answering the question, what should I consider in hiring an attorney? In-state versus out-of-state, big firm or little firm? Recommendations from friends or family? The internet, the phone book, or TV. With so many choices and so much information, it can be an overwhelming task trying to make the right decision. To complicate things, choosing a lawyer is an important and sometimes life-affecting decision and should not be taken lightly. So how do you select an attorney? Do your research. Look the firm up on the internet. Ask friends and family whether they know or have any experience with a specific firm. If you know any local lawyers, ask them about the reputation of the firms you may be considering. Call a local law office and ask if they are handling cases like yours. There's a good chance they can help you. But if they can't, they can always refer you to someone they respect who handles your type of case. And remember, ask questions face to face. Ask about their experience in handling cases like yours. How often someone from their office will be available to you, and what you can expect during the process. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you. Thanks for watching The Attorneys.
Welcome back into the Attorneys, the final segment. If you would like to join the conversation, call, text, email that information at the bottom of your screen. And also a reminder, there are attorneys standing by right now to speak with you, so please take advantage of the opportunity to get some free legal advice. We'd love to hear from you. Josh?
When we went out to break, one of the issues we were talking about, I wanted to go back to it, is whether or not people have to use the doctors that Social Security kind of pushes them to, or whether or not they can use their own doctors that may be retained, for example, through your office in order to present the elements of their claim. How does that work? And do they have the ability to hire their own doctors, or do they have to use who Social Security asks them to use?
Well, Josh, it's kind of a combination of all of that. The disability judge, well, even before the hearing, Social Security and the disability judge, they're required to consider all of the medical records that you have in your file, including the opinions from your own personal doctors. Now, generally, your treating doctor's opinion is going to be the most persuasive evidence you can have, and the judge actually has to have a good reason if he or she chooses to disagree with your own doctor's opinion. And also the judge is going to consider your hearing testimony as well as any opinions from non-experts such as family members or friends. But occasionally, like I said, they will send you to additional independent medical or psychological examinations, and those opinions are considered along with everything else in your file.
You know, we talk about this a lot on the show about the importance of getting to counsel. You know, this area of the law is one of those areas you need somebody to lead, guide, and direct you and kind of hold your hand through this process to make sure that you are getting to the right doctors. And that's why I thought that point was going to be important, is because you need to have counsel explain to you, because we get these questions. I don't want to go to their doctors.
Right.
You know, you need a lawyer on your side that can explain to you, look, you may not have a choice. You have to be seen by these doctors under certain circumstances. And that will ease people's minds to recognize that they're kind of being protected in the process.
Yeah, looked out for. A question I think a lot of folks were asking there, a question we have here, if approved for disability, how long do you have to wait before the benefits begin?
Well, monthly benefits will usually begin anywhere from 1 to 3 months after a favorable decision is made. Now, if there are past due benefits, these usually take up to 1 or up to 5 to 6 months for you to receive. Now, if workers' compensation is involved, now that could delay the process a little bit because Social Security usually has to do an accounting to calculate your past due benefits.
And let's go back through that, and let me make sure I understand too. If somebody is approved and it took 12 months, for example, to get approved, do they get that 12-month benefit that they have waited during that time frame in order to receive, and do they get that retroactively?
Yes, actually, for SSDI, past due benefits can be back paid up to 1 year from the time that you filed your claim. Now that's different with SSI because that can only be paid back to your original application.
But talk about this, because I get a lot of these questions too. If somebody's receiving Social Security disability, do they have the ability to go work as normal and still maintain their benefits, or do they lose their benefits? How does that process work?
Well, it depends on a lot of things, but Social Security does have regulations in place to protect you if you want to try to work again and not risk losing your benefits. Actually, if you go back to work and you have to stop working because of your impairments within 6 months, this is considered an unsuccessful work attempt and you're not penalized for that. Now, also, Social Security allows for a trial work period of 9 months where you can actually just test your ability to work without losing your benefits. But if you continue working beyond those 9 months, then your benefits will be stopped.
Gotcha. This is a super complicated area, and let me tell you how this melds with what we do as a practice. When somebody resolves a claim because of some form of an injury, if they're on certain forms of Social Security disability, if they are paid a lump sum payment in resolution of their claim, they can lose their benefits completely. There are ways to avoid that GHAW, if you will, with the Social Security disability rules and certain settlement structures that can be set up to protect an individual to maintain their disability benefits. But if you're not careful with a personal injury settlement, you can eliminate somebody's benefits moving forward. And as was discussed earlier, some of these benefits folks get health insurance too, like Medicare.
Right.
What you wouldn't want to do is eliminate somebody's benefits, potentially eliminate their health care on a moving forward basis too. So those are all issues of how this area of the law works into the area of law where you're dealing with a traditional personal injury type case. And so it's why we hire experts like Josh to go to make sure that we're walking carefully through the process to make sure that we're paying a personal injury victim in the right way to make sure they don't lose their benefits. And I know you see that a lot in your practice too.
You know, in your experience and with the cases you've seen, what are the most common mistakes that people make and kind of handicap their own case, hurt their own case and their own cause?
It's a great question.
Well, I think when you apply for disability, the most important thing is consistent and regular treatment with the doctor. A lot of people don't have insurance, so that can be difficult for someone without insurance or without any income. But there are some great, very low cost or free health clinics. Like, for example, here in Birmingham, we have Cooper Green Health Clinic. So it's judges like to see regular and consistent treatment for the specific impairments that you're alleging you're disabled because of.
All right, so let's say you're approved and you're receiving your Social Security disability benefits. How long does that last? Does it last for life? Does it end at some point? Is it reevaluated by the Social Security Administration?
Well, it's going to depend on the specific facts of your case. Usually, Social Security doesn't assume that your disability is going to be permanent. They take the position that many conditions will improve with time and with treatment. So customarily, Social Security will review your claim from anywhere from 6 months to 7 years from the date that you became disabled. And that's going to depend on the facts, like the nature and severity. What is your condition?
Another reason to have these relationships.
Yeah, we're just
Make
about
sure you're protected.
Just about out of time. Covered a lot of ground today, but just from the both of you, and Josh Beer, we'll go with you first. Just a final thought, a final comment to leave for our viewers tonight.
Okay, thank you, Dave and Josh, and I appreciate you guys having me on the show. You know, it's Social Security is a very, very complicated area, so you definitely want to have an experienced attorney on your side. When you do decide to make a claim for disability, you have to keep in mind that it's a very complicated process. It can be a very long process. You have to be patient with it, but if you keep fighting, you hang in there, you can prevail.
The only thing I'd say is make sure if you are in the circumstance, David, where you have a personal injury claim and you're recovering money, that you talk with your lawyer to ensure and maintain that the lawyer has considered those benefits so you don't lose them to the extent that you're receiving some type of financial gain as part of your personal injury settlement. I think that's very important.
Some great information tonight. Appreciate both of you being with us. Appreciate you joining us as well. We're all done, but as we wrap things up, how you can continue to get in touch with the firm of Hollis and Wright, would love for you to do so. We appreciate the time. Thanks for being with us tonight. We'll see you next week right here on The Attorneys.